Today's concept captures the dynamic concept that deals with the experiences, the challenges and opportunities of professionals who pursue their career outside their host country. And to delve into this conversation with me in the studios are Mr. Delali Komavi Sakba, I hope I'm mentioning the name right, who is a journalist and partnership manager, and our guest here, Mr. Emmanuel Agbenousi, who is a researcher, or who is an internet governance and tech policy researcher. He's been on the show before, so I'm sure you probably already know him. So thank you very much for coming and also for honoring the invitation.
Welcome.
Okay.
It's a pleasure.
We wouldn't want to waste much time. The topic says profession beyond borders, working in the diaspora. This is just an aspect of profession beyond borders. We'll probably delve much more into the individual lives of people, not the working aspect, maybe on another segment. And I'm sure they will also be willing to come again on the show for that one. So first of all, as a journalist and partnership manager, and also as a researcher on internet policy and tech, internet governance and tech policy, somebody will be asking him or herself what motivated you or what inspired you to pursue a career outside your host country. So I'll start with Mr. Emmanuel on this one.
Thank you very much. I think the motivation sometimes just come. You don't usually say that, okay, I'm going to work abroad. I don't think personally that was not the objective. I think sometimes it's in your educational, pursuing your educational abroad and getting the opportunity to actually, practice makes you sometimes end up staying and maybe growing. Other components come into it, like family and other components. So you end up working or staying in the diaspora. So there was no particular motivation. The motivation was to go and get a world-class education, come back, work in your country, and usually, well, we know the realities. So,
Mr. Dali, do you have?
I think he already said it all. That's the same thing. I mean, you leave the country just to get a better education, to learn new stuff abroad, and then you end up with an opportunity of a job there, and you tell yourself, okay, I will start there, and then maybe in 1 or 2 years, then I'll come back home, and then you end up staying there, and after 10 years, 20 years, you're still there. Yeah, that's the reality.
I think, well, as people who already work in the diaspora, I think you will resonate with some of these things, but there is this particular question that I think my viewers will also be interested in. How do you still maintain your identity while staying there for like a very long period of time?
I was born in Togo, so for me it's easy to know where I'm from. I did my baccalaureate here, and then I studied also at the university here. I know the realities here. So even after leaving the country, I kept that. I knew where I'm from. Of course, you learn how the country there works. You try also to get used to the country, to know how the rules are and everything. But deep down, you're still a Togolese. So it's not that difficult. You just know how it works and you keep it, and you have your values, and you know what you want, and you try also to keep your culture and your values also there. So that's how it works.
So for you, culture and value is a very good factor to look out to.
Yes, definitely.
For your personal identity. So, Mr. Emmanuel?
Well, I think it's for most Africans it's almost the same thing, because we are rooted in a certain tradition, and cultural beliefs and realities. As he said, if you are born in Lomé, if you are born in Lomé, I had this conversation one day, and somebody said, if you are born in Lomé, life has scored you 1 goal already. Life has scored you 1 goal already. So going abroad, you have to face life with 1 goal and try to win. So even winning that battle, you still have those values. Because we have a certain value that no matter how many years you spend abroad, if you listen to your fellow, even in a plane, let me give you a basic example. You take a plane, you're going to India or whatever country in Asia, sometimes you are the only black, or the moment you see somebody with the same color, either he's from the US, or from Haiti, from Africa, the moment he's black, You try to have that connection. You know, it's immediate. And if he's an African, it doesn't take 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It comes naturally.
It comes naturally. So
I can relate to that very much. Well, I can relate to that very much.
So yes, I think, and even our languages, like today, for example, we try to even like make sure that our children keep that identity, because how do you call it? It's the same thing like you see an African. If you hear somebody speaking your language, even within Africa, the moment you are abroad and you actually listen to that, it gets you connected to your roots, to your traditions. So I think it's not that difficult. I know for some people, they get disconnected. But personally,
we'll come to that aspect.
Personally, well, I think
we'll get to that aspect.
Yes.
But among all those identity, because I mean, the submissions you made and what you made is very clear. I believe our viewers will also understand it. But there is this aspect also that when you pursue career outside, you spoke about the realities of your home countries, and now you're outside. What skills or what does the diaspora enrich you with in the professional aspect of your life? What are the things that you feel has been some additions to you because you are in that particular host country? Maybe in terms of a journalist or partnership manager? What are some of the things that the diaspora has enriched with?
Oh, that's...
I know it's large, but...
It's very large. You know, living in Germany, for example, I would just take Germany example, is that you learn another way of living there. It's totally different to what we do here in Togo or in most of our countries here in Africa. They teach you kind of a discipline, or kind of, you know, you learn how to, you know, to get your goal. You wake up at 4 a.m., you know, okay, today that's my goal. That's where I want to go. That's what I have to do today. So till the end of the day, you get this job done.
Okay.
And that's, in my personal case, that's something that I learned there. That's something that we don't do here always.
As much.
I mean, a lot of people do it, but not everyone. It's not, I just have the feeling that it's not in our education to, you know, to get things done when it has to be done right now. We get things done, but there it's more like, okay, go.
So there's a difference in the system or the structure of how things are done.
Completely. People, you know, you can call it luck or maybe, you know, the opposite, because this don't make people there also happy. It's very difficult.
Okay.
You know, you make this done, you do your job, but at the end of the day, who are you? Are you happy with what you're doing? It's not always the case. But you learn how to be, you know, to get your discipline to do things how you have to.
I think it goes a little bit to do with when maybe biblically they say a prophet is not often valued in his or her own place. There where you are, you know, maybe not to say you don't have life beyond work, but the work is what is letting you survive in a foreign country. So I think if you don't stick to that, if you can't survive, you can't actually stay there probably for as long as you would want to.
Yeah.
So Mr. Emmanuel, what is your submission on that?
Well, I think it gives you more exposure. Let me put it that way. In my own case, I think it gives you more exposure because you see people doing things differently because that's their culture. Because somebody, when they tell you show up at 8 a.m., you show up at 8 a.m. Here, when they tell you show up at 8 a.m., you add 3 hours to it. So, I mean, so that discipline that he was mentioning, you try to cultivate that. You also have that skill enhancement because we don't have all the skills here. Let's tell the truth to each other. We don't have that, all the skills. And when you go there, it's a very huge environment where you have opportunity, because here we don't have the opportunity. How many people graduate and how many people have a job? Yeah. So you have that large opportunity where no matter the training that you have, you can get a skill, you can get a job to do. That's not the case here. I don't know if I grew up in the same setting, but it looks like sometimes when they say you are Togolese, you have to study law, to become a lawyer, a doctor, because those are like the pathway to success, you know, to us. So I think going abroad has helped in, expanding that network as well, because today I always tell people that I don't go for fundraising and those kind of things. I raise friends, because everything I've done so far is through friends, is through the network, because people within the same network trust each other. They give you that opportunity because they know you. It's not because you are family. Contrary to, I mean, in Africa, you know how it works. It's more nepotism. It's how you, now it's changing, because where the mentalities are actually changing. People are traveling, they are coming back, so it's changing. So I think for me, that exposure is the key point, and also the kind of professional reputation you get. A project manager in Lomé does not have the same reputation as a project manager for the same project in the US. So I think it gives you that, how do you call it, personal development, and also it exposes you to a lot of innovation.
Okay, I will start with you on my very next question, which talks more about, can you tell us maybe an experience? You said earlier about being in a plane when you meet your fellow skin man or woman, and then the connection you have. So I want to start with you on this one. Can you share with us a particular example of a challenge or an experience you've had by being a professional in the diaspora? It could be good, it could be bad.
Should I share the funny one, or
let's lighten the mood a bit?
Okay, so I'll put it in between, so that my company will not get bored. So I traveled to Mexico, 2016, and there was almost 6,000 people in the audience. So the moment I came out, you know, and I look at the audience, you know, that kind of feeling where you're trying to find your fellow men, you know, your fellow, you know, Africans to...
You are seeing colors you can't really relate
so
to.
when I had that, you know, so the first thing was, I'm coming from a very tiny country, difficult to actually, because usually when you say, I'm coming from Togo, there's a silence, usually. So I always tell people that when Adebayo was still playing the Premier League, it was very good, because it was easier to say, do you know Adebayo? Arsenal? Yes, he's my brother. We're the same family. We are the same family. So that day, when I say I'm coming from Togo, there was that silence. So somebody said Tonga. So I heard the Tonga. Say no, not Tonga Island, Togo. So it's in West Africa. It's close to Nigeria, because Nigeria is a big economy. So when I say Nigeria, I hear the noise, you know. So I was like, oh, I know that noise. So Nigeria, do you know Nigeria? So I hear the noise, and I was like, okay, good. I know you have all gotten that email from my cousin about our grandfather's heritage. Yes. So yes, that cousin, I think, is still around. So I'm coming near Nigeria, somewhere in Togo, and you see people even checking to see where you're coming from.
If it's real or
even
not.
That alone is a burden, honestly, because at that moment, your country is not on the map. And you're trying to find what can I actually use
to bring people
people who have watched 2016 World Cup is almost 20 years.
It's been...
So it's difficult to so I think I have faced that wherever I travel to. Today I've actually traveled to 47 countries.
That's great.
In the world, and I can tell you for sure, even in Africa, sometimes it's very difficult to tell a fellow African where Togo is located. So I think that has been one of the biggest challenge, and I think now, well, there's internet, things are changing, and it make it more easier. And one last one. One day they asked me, the guy said, I saw you on Twitter. So I give a lecture. When I finished, people were asking questions, and it was in South Korea. So she's like, I saw you on Twitter. Do you tweet from Togo?
What's the question?
So it was a UNESCO meeting, like 500 delegates in the room, coming from all over the world. So everybody keep laughing, and I'm like, well, I don't tweet from Togo. I tweet from Lampedusa. Anytime I get to Lampedusa, I tweet. And those days, there was the Lampedusa crisis. So sometimes you just make it hilarious, and I mean, just to laugh.
You can't take offense from
You can't take offense.
people.
No. You can't take offense because you are born there. And sometimes you just try to say that, okay, if I'm leaving this room today, I make sure that 2-3 people at least know somebody from Togo.
Sure.
So, I mean, yeah.
Your experiences are very enriching. I think
And-
Mr. Delali.
I have not similar, but a bit of
In the
you know
same line.
same way. It's I would just when I got to Germany, it was still at the beginning. I remember it was at the university, still at the university, when some people were asking me where I'm from. Say Togo. Okay, what is that? It's a country. The first person is German. So, okay, you don't know Togo? No, where is Togo? It's a country in Africa, and you guys used to be there. Couple of years
They're trying
ago.
to draw their mind back to the colonialism.
Exactly. And that's where I realized that they don't know anything about what is happening in Africa. And the same person asked me how I felt when I came to Germany and started wearing clothes. It's a student, but it's a reality.
Wow.
It is a reality. It was not mean, but for this person, it was the reality. You know.
Wow.
So, at the end of the day, the thing as a Togolese, coming from a small country, is always to try to tell people, you know, to teach people, to tell them what Togo is, where Togo is on the map, who, you know, who are the most important person there. You know, go there, go and see Togo, go and, you know, check yourself what is happening there. And it's not easy. It's not easy, trust me. But when you have other African fellows who know Togo, most from West Africa, it make it easier for you. Because most of the West African people know Togo. Even if Togo is small, most of them have been already in Togo, and they had a great experience when they were here, and they always help you, you know,
Spread the word.
spread
about
the
Togo,
word where Togo is, what you know. But it's interesting to live there and to try to be that bridge between Europe and, you know, our continent, our country, because it's important today to teach people, to tell people that we are from a place where life always is, where people are also smart, where people do the same things
that you also do.
that you also do.
I'm going to
there.
hold you on that. So, viewers, the conversation is getting very interesting, and you can see my guests are very well vested with the experiences they have, the insight they are giving us. So, we'll be going for a quick break. When we come back, we are still live on the Key Point. So we are back on the show. The conversation is so much we couldn't keep quiet even when we were on commercial break. So we are back on the show. I have in the studio Mr. Emmanuel Agbenowosi and Mr. Delali Sakpa. They have shared their experience with us on the topic for today. We spoke earlier about some of the challenges or the experiences they face. So now we'll be moving on to how they are able to find effective ways to overcome probably the language barrier, the culture differences, and some of the other obstacles that you may have faced. I mean, not necessarily the ones you shared with us, but the ones you may have. So I want to start with you on this one, especially with the language barrier.
Yeah, it's been a big challenge for me to learn German.
We only know good Morten, what?
Guten Morgen.
Okay.
So it was very difficult, but I had the chance that I met people there who helped me, to learn pretty quickly the language. And I wanted to learn the language. Like we said at the beginning, we leave Togo to learn something new.
Sure.
To get new experiences. And for me, it was clear I don't wanted to go to France, or I don't wanted to go to Great Britain or US. I wanted to learn something new, something I was not really, to get out of my
the comfort zone. Yeah.
So for me, it was a kind of flow that was in me. Okay, I need to learn this. And after 1-2 years, for the language, it was already done. So I could speak with people. It was easy, but also difficult because most of the people were trying always, to not to diminish you, but to
Africanize you.
To
Let me use that word.
Africanize you, let's say it that way. But at a point, they just realize, okay, you can speak other languages, and you learn also their language.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, are you not, you know,
genius?
And when they realize that, they are just like, okay. So that makes you already like, okay, that gives you already that credit. You know, coming from a country, in another country, learning that language, studying there, working there, doing stuff there, it just gives you more value in the country. And that gives you also the opportunity to have new network to sell yourself.
Yeah, that's great. So, what about you? Especially, I want to focus on the language because even within ourselves in Africa, or even in Togo here, there are different dialects, there are different languages, and sometimes we have obstacles trying to communicate even with each other. Here lies the case, you gentlemen have gone beyond the continent and some of the experiences you've had. So in terms of language, how do you deal with it? I mean, in Mexico, for example, I'm sure they speak Spanish and other languages.
Yeah, I think for me personally, language was not a barrier because my focus was more on the English. Because I thought that, well, if I want to open myself to the world, let me start from there because it's a language I could speak everywhere. And I think from everywhere I've been on earth, from the Maldives to, I don't know, Suriname or whatever small country it is, somebody's speaking English. So the only challenge was the accents.
Yeah.
That
People
accent.
are very particular about accent. I don't
That
really know
accent is quite. Before the show, I was explaining to him that this week I'm actually in a multilateral conversation. We're doing some negotiations, and the stakeholders, majority of them are U.S. lawyers. You know, they come with their accent.
Yeah.
The British, same, and you are representing maybe a client in the U.S. You know, that kind of thing. So you have to work harder before getting to the table because you are only winning with your arguments, not your tone, not your accents. So I think that is, but the fact that you could speak a different language makes things easier. Because I got that habit usually because I do teach a lot. Anytime I'm teaching, and I actually usually get the student profile, having an idea who are the people, and I notice that, okay, I can get at least 4 or 5 people who speak French. I give my lecture in English, and I'm done. I can take 30 minutes with those people. And we exchange because sometimes we feel stupid, even within West Africa. Within West Africa, if you go for meetings where Francophones have to struggle to speak the English, the moment they are having their exchanges, you see that the Anglophones, their faces change. Usually. So because, and it's normal because usually when somebody could not speak your language, you think the person is stupid. You think he's stupid. No matter the degree he got, you think he's stupid until you get to know that, okay, this particular person. So language is very key. Like for close to 2 years now, I'm actually learning Portuguese as well. That will be my third language. And the objective is coming back to Africa, working in Africa. In Africa, if you could speak English, you could speak French, you could speak Portuguese, and maybe Kiswahili, then you can actually make it, no matter where you find yourself.
I'm challenging myself now to learn 2 new languages because I actually do interpreting works and translation works, and sometimes when I go for conferences, I only have to deal with French and English because that's what I can do. But the guy who deals with Portuguese is giving his separate booth that he's always in, and then he deals with everything. He's very nice. It's because I think in Africa we have Portuguese colonies. I mean former Portuguese colonies, so it would be good. Now, if you want to go more and more, we are probably going to end up while in the wait time. So I want to fuse 2 questions together. The first part of the question is the misconceptions or the stereotype that people have about people living in the diaspora. And then the second aspect is what contribution can they also bring, first of all, to their home country and then to their host country. Then from there, we'll move straight to some of the advices and stuff. So I will start with you on this one. The misconceptions and the stereotype, the first part, and then the contributions that the diaspora can bring to both the home country and the host country.
I think the stereotypes are more that people, in the diaspora, they don't want to come and change
things in their home country.
What is not true?
Maybe partially,
I think, no, I think every African living in the diaspora wants to change something in his home country.
Okay.
Maybe some people already tried, it didn't work. So after that, they say, okay, stop, I'll just wait there and then just observe. And some people are new, and they come and they are trying to change something. And some of them also are changing things, but at a really
low level.
Yeah. It's already good. So people in the diaspora, they are also contributing a lot.
You coming on the show itself is a part of the contribution, yes. Sharing your experiences.
I think people are contributing a lot, everyone on his level, low level or high level. And I think the most important thing for people from the diaspora is to have plans for the home country, to know that, okay, to keep that focus on the home country. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you're living or where you are, you are earning your money or whatever, paper you have your home country, and
you must return to your roots at some point.
Exactly, at a point. And if you have also kids, you have to teach them to give back in order to tell them, or in order to give them this culture, for them not to lose their roots. Yeah. Because most of our kids, they are born there in Europe or in US, and most of them lose the roots. And it's also good to have both. To have the roots, the American or the European root, and also to have the African one.
Sure.
And I would just give one example. Most of the Afro-German, they are realizing now how important their African roots are.
Yeah. So, Mr. Emmanuel?
Stereotypes. I think you go in both directions. The people you left here, your brothers, your sisters, your family, everybody think life there is easier. Like the moment that plane leave this country,
I think that aspect.
Everybody is expecting you. And I always tell people that if you are the first generation going to Europe, is like a family member who become a priest. What happened usually? He have a salary, he doesn't have family. He will invest his entire life for his family and the church. It's the same thing if you are the first generation to go to Europe. Everybody is expecting you to come, either help him to go, to join you, or to send the money.
Sure.
So they don't actually, measure how difficult is it for you, changing the weather, changing the environment, being in a setting where you don't speak the same language with the people, no culture, same culture, the food, everything is new for you. Who cares about infrastructure? It's a misconception because, okay, they are comfortable there, they are living in AC, they eat well, but it's quite difficult for me. Anytime, for example, I go to shop in African shops and you see any fellow African, it's the same thing. Everybody's just coming to buy something that reminds him home. Because not eating like whatever he eats in Europe, it is not what he wants. It is what he has.
That is what is
so there's that misconception from the people you live here. And also people usually think that, they don't want to come back because they don't want to lower their living standard. It may be true, and it makes sense. Because if you spend years working hard, living a certain life, you have a car, you are not walking anymore, you are not taking motorbike anymore, and you come back home and what they are proposing to you as a salary and the kind of skills you want to give to the company, sometimes it will discourage you.
Sure.
I remember there was some years ago in Togo, a lady was coming back to work in a public company, I will not mention it, and the salary was around $3,000. It was all over the front page of all newspapers in this country. that how can they pay this lady such amount of money?
Well, in some contexts, you could understand that somebody may be rendering the same service
so
a bit low.
when you look at the person's CV, the person is leaving a salary of maybe 3 times that to come back to his country to serve. But it's quite difficult for people to understand that, oh, okay, you have children, you have a mortgage, you have a lot of, things that you have to pay for, and you cannot afford, it's like your child, for example, coming to Lomé will not have the same, living standard as a child that was born at the same age in Togo, because he's used to it. So sometimes it's quite difficult explaining all those elements to people, and anytime they see you, they don't see a human being. And that's another very bad misconception. They see you as, it's dollars that they are looking at. They think that you always work with money, but they don't know that you are facing the same challenges, the same struggle.
Maybe your packaging is too appealing, it's too appealing. Well, we're running out of time, so I will take your last word. What advice do you have for people, regarding the topic? It could be on the misconceptions, it could be on the contributions, it could be generally your experiences working outside your home country.
I would say first that it's a good thing to go out of your country and to learn something new. Most of the people who never got the chance to go outside to learn something new or to study abroad, they don't understand how, what kind of opportunities we have in Togo. So I will encourage everyone, even to go to Ghana, even to go to another
Nigeria,
country,
Benin or something.
just to learn something new, to see how the people are doing it there. Not to stay there, but if you want to stay, up to you, but to go and learn something new and to develop new skills. That's, I think for me today, that's the key. Skills, skills, skills. Without skills, it's difficult in our world today, in our professional world. Of course, you need the network, people who will help you to get to your goal, but you need to get the skill and to show that you can do that job. So skill, 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 and then I think everything is possible in the diaspora or
in the home country.
In the home country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Delali Sakpa, for your contributions. I'll take the last one from Mr. Emmanuel.
So for me, I think I will stand in the same direction. It's always good to actually go outside your zone. Even if it's Ghana, just travel to Ghana for 3 months, come back. Go to Cotonou for 3 months and come back. You learn something new because those people, they have their own way of doing things. So it's always important to go outside, get skills, get yourself trained. And I always tell people that Africa is the future. They don't believe me. I've been with Google covering Francophone African countries, and I've seen the potential that is coming up. In the next 20 years, people will regret being in Europe because Europe is almost end. The fourth industrial revolution, the last industrial revolution was in Europe.
Sure.
And we have seen how it has changed everything from the automobile to everything. And the fourth industrial revolution is coming back to Africa, meaning we have what? All the potential. We have the market. The only thing that is missing is the brains, because there are skills that we need. I always say that look at our curriculums, artificial intelligence, all those technology, emerging technologies that are coming up to train our people, because tomorrow those people will be at the forefront of the world. So we have to actually go outside there, train ourselves, and get ready for that.
Thank you very much for for your submissions. I believe that the profession beyond borders and working in diaspora, with the experience that I've shared, we need to celebrate our own creativity. We need to celebrate that resilience. We also need to work with other people, go out, learn new things, as the guests have shared on the show. So this show comes your way every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. You can catch a repeat same time on Sundays. And also you can follow us on Facebook, The Key Point, with double I. On YouTube is the New World TV, The Key Point playlist. See you next week. Bye-bye.